Hello and welcome. I am Kelly Hearn with Transitional Leadership, and you are on the channel where we discuss implementation of leadership and career skill development to foster a greater impact in a career and a life you love. Today, we are talking about professional growth. So, we're talking about professional growth, why it's important, and what a strategy would look like to implement for it. As always, if you learn anything here today in this video or in any of the other videos, please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Head on over to kellyhearn.com to learn a whole bunch more. But for today, let's dig into it. So, what is professional growth? What is professional development? And why are these things important? I'm going to be honest, it's easier to start out with what are they not? Professional development and professional growth is not taking a course. It is not going to a conference, taking a seminar, getting a designation. It's not any of that. And before you raise your eyebrows at me and get all confused, I understand, right? That is what we write in those professional development plans. That is what growth and development is supposed to be. So, how can I stand here and say that that's not it? That's not what you're looking for? Well, because it's not just learning a skill, it's not just learning about the bullet points and the concepts and the theories. Professional growth and development is the application of those skills and experiences to benefit you now and in the future. So that's a really important distinction. It is not just learning the things, it is application of those skills. Because just hearing everything about change management or communication or goal setting doesn't actually mean that you have grown in any way, shape, or form. It is only when you apply what you have learned do you actually see any of the benefit from it. Or the people that are reporting to you or working with you, that's when they feel the effects and the benefits and the impacts from your professional growth and professional development. So, just like all of that's true top down, it is absolutely true bottom up as well. So if you're an individual contributor or if you're a middle management manager that is sharing your development up, it really only matters again once it's applied skill. Until then, it is just a theory that you read about in a book one time. And as much as it pains me to say it because I've spent so many hours reading and learning, it just doesn't matter that much unless you can apply it. So, what are some examples of professional growth? I mean, I gave you a bunch of examples of what it isn't, right? It isn't just going out and learning about the things, but it's actually the application of it. So, if we're talking about that communication, if we're talking about change management, maybe as a professional growth or professional development opportunity, it is learning about a specific means of change management. Maybe it's ADKAR. So you're learning all about building awareness, creating desire, building knowledge within people, all of those things within the ADKAR model. And then you're actually implementing them. And it can be on a really small scale, right? Maybe the change that you want to implement within your team is just coming and going from breaks and lunches promptly. And so it's not this major initiative. It isn't this whole new expectation that we're trying to impart upon people, but it's really just maintaining a steady expectation around timeliness for, say, customer service purposes. All right. So your professional growth and development comes in actually thinking through what you've learned, thinking through that ADKAR model, and creating communications, maybe gamification, maybe resources that are supported by each one of these levels. Maybe you are starting to assess and ask more questions to find out where your people are at within the ADKAR model and how they're feeling, what they would need to break through an obstacle and move to the next level. Do you see how that's different? How it's not just I've learned about ADKAR, I read the book, I maybe have the certification, badge on my signature, but I can actually apply it. And once we're able to apply in a small area, we can apply it to a bigger type project as well, or a bigger initiative as well. Same thing would be true around, say, communication. So it's one thing to read a book about good communication or go to a seminar at a conference surrounded by a ton of other people who are all trying to grow their communication skills. And then it's another thing to say, as I reflect back on the feedback that I've gotten over the years, my written communication is strong, but my verbal communication to a group could use some refinement. Okay. And so then you're learning more specifically about that one area of communication that you need work on. And you're implementing what you're learning every opportunity that you have the chance to practice. So it's not just, I need to learn about communication. So I'm going to read the book on communication. And it's also not just, I need to get better at verbal communication. So I'm going to take the opportunity to communicate more because practice makes perfect. It doesn't. It just, continues to build on what you're already doing, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent. But going the step further to understand what it is and intentionally build on the areas of weakness or opportunity that you have. So one example that I have of this is trying to build vulnerability and humility within my team. So there was a point in my career where I was trying to teach people to really own up for their mistakes. I was trying to create a culture where people understood that I wasn't going to beat them up for a mistake that they made, but instead I was going to applaud the process of them learning through it. Okay. So what did that mean for me? What sort of professional development did I need to be able to create that sort of culture for the teams that I was working with? Well, I needed them to be able to trust that I would not only talk the talk and try to build them up, but also walk the walk. So you can't really get people to be vulnerable and to open up about mistakes that they've made if their perception is that you believe yourself to be perfect and you're not opening up about the mistakes that you're making. Because we're all making them and they know that we're making mistakes, it's just a matter of, do they know that we know that we're making mistakes, right? So instead of telling a bunch of stories about how I made mistakes years ago or how so-and-so made a mistake and how I had acted with integrity with what I had said to the team that I would do, instead, I gave them examples of a mistake that I had made in the present moment and how I apologized in the moment once I realized what I did wrong and was able to move the situation forward. So coincidentally enough, this was also about communication, not verbal, not to big groups. I had a history of coming off a bit brash in email, especially when I didn't feel like things were moving along the way that they needed to. And so, because I was trying to build this vulnerability with my team and build this culture of just embracing the process and learning from mistakes, I needed to be honest with myself and reflect on the mistakes I was making in my emails that were making people feel less than inclined to help when I needed help because I was being so brash in those emails. And so what I did was when I saw an email that didn't get the results that I wanted because I was being frankly kind of rude in how I crafted it, I took the email, I screenshot so that I kept the person that I sent it to out of the mix. I didn't want them to have to be caught up in this learning moment for me. And I sent what I wrote to my team and I said, what not to do. And I gave them what I had originally written. And then I explained a little bit of the backstory and how this was working against me. And then I shared with them the apology that I had given to this person and the new way that I crafted the email, which focused much more on why what we were working on was important and why I needed them to fix the thing that I was originally asking them to fix so that we could see more progress. And it's amazing how quickly I got a response to that apology email and how quickly we saw a solution to the issue that we were facing once I had acted in vulnerability with this person. So I was not only able to show my team that I was invested in my own professional growth and learning from my own mistakes, I was also able to share with them a really clear example of where vulnerability is rewarded in the workplace, which was what I wanted all of them to be growing from as well. And I encouraged them to share more examples, which built more cohesiveness within the team, but also got them thinking and reflecting on situations where they could be better and where they could continue to grow. So those examples of professional growth are so much more profound, but smaller moments than I spent 3 days at a conference and I took a million notes around a whole bunch of different things that I want to learn more about. Do you see how that's different? Do you see how growth can truly happen in some of these small moments? And in these bigger ones, it can just be learning without growth? So, how do you do this intentionally? You do it with a professional growth strategy. And I know I say the word strategy a lot, and that is because it is very important to be strategic and intentional about the work that you're doing. And I mean, being strategic about your growth, what could be more important than that, right? So, what a professional growth strategy is a structured plan that involves a vision and goals, action steps, communication, and networking or connections. So it's this really robust plan that takes where you are now and transforms it through the goals and the vision and the communication with your connections and takes you to this next level because you were so intentional about the strategy. Now, this is an incredibly useful tool. I know it can sound a little bit overwhelming to put this all together into one framework, especially when many of us have been thinking about professional growth as listing, 2 classes in a book into a little form to say what our professional growth is going to be for the next year. Um, but this can be the difference between checking the box on professional development and truly embracing growth in your career. Now, I've also said a couple times that it's about growing now and growing in the future. So, part of building out this strategy, and honestly, part of working with your connections for it, is understanding how these things are going to help you in your career today and what they can do for you in the future. So let's go back to my example where I had really poor email etiquette, and that was impacting not only my communication, but how I could build vulnerability with my team, as well as my ability to hit objectives with other people across the company that I was working for. So if I am just thinking about what I can do to grow now, improving my professional relationships with people on my team or in the department is critical, right? So, improving my communication and sharing that I'm reflecting and intentional about my growth in that area is obviously critical at that stage of where I was at in my career journey, right? Because it impacted my ability to get results and it impacted my ability to influence my team. But what does that mean for the future? What it means for the future is I now have the ability to build culture. I now have the ability to influence people that I have no control over, people in other departments that I actually don't get to control for their results and their objectives. I am teaching myself and working with them on better ways to influence those situations. Yes, it was helpful in the position that I was in, but that's exponentially helpful as I continue to grow in my career and continue to demonstrate those efforts and demonstrate that growth on bigger and bigger stages with higher stakes. Okay. So, this growth strategy is so very important so that you're able to take something that might be fairly small, like I wrote a bad email, and turn it into something that can really transform your career over time, so long as you are intentional and strategic about it. Now, where do these other people come in? Sometimes it's really hard to hold up a mirror and see our own flaws, right? Sometimes professional growth and development is more than just what we're able to see in ourselves. Hopefully, we have a high degree of self awareness and we're able to identify where our gaps and flaws and weaknesses are. But there's always going to be some that we just can't see and that we need somebody else to hold up the mirror for us. So, with those connections, you're able to get that. You're also able to get a sense of accountability. So, not only could different strategic connections that I have that are helping me work on different areas and different goals within my career can hold up that mirror for me and help me see it a bit better, but they can also say, you said you want to be better about this, or you said that you wanted to work on this skill. What have you done? Where's the evidence? What are you doing now to move yourself in that direction? Not in a mean way, not in an accusatory way, but just in a manner that helps you stay accountable and focused on the goal. So I hope that that is helpful. I hope that you are able to build your own strategy for professional growth and professional development. If you would like a structured framework for this, I absolutely have one built out that you can just take a Google sheet and insert your own information. You can totally steal mine. I will put a link into the notes for this episode so that you can take that and run with it. But as always, like I said in the beginning of the episode, if you learned anything here today, if you like what you got out of this video or any of my videos, please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Head on over to kellyhearn.com and look for the ways that we can work together better. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.